Yo, what is up YouTube? VETOED here. Finally! Episode 2 of Halo 5 Retrospect is out. It's been literal months, I'm pretty sure, since the last time I've uploaded a video on this series. But I am very committed to finishing the series because I think it's really important ahead of Halo Infinite that we really get through all the mechanics that this game had to offer and we kind of look back on everything that Halo 5 did right and did wrong. And this episode's topic will be Spartan Charge. And Spartan Charge is one of the most... I'm not sure if I want to call it controversial, but it was definitely, I think it was a pretty big point of contention among the community. It was definitely one of those additions that a lot of people weren't so sure about. And in this video, we're going to dismantle the mechanic and kind of talk about what it does, the pros, the cons, the positives, the downsides, and I will end by giving my opinions on the matter. So let's get right into it. So first and foremost, if you don't know what Spartan Charge is, it's a mechanic that lets you charge, quite literally like this, at your opponents. You have to be sprinting, so if you're just walking, it doesn't work. Those bars mean to show that I can Spartan Charge, and if I press my melee button, it does a long range type of melee attack. And you have to sprint for at least a second. As you can tell, there's like a delay before the bars show up, so if I just start sprinting, you won't see the bars on the screen. So you have to sprint for approximately a whole second before you can Spartan Charge someone. So that's sort of a way to balance it out. Now, as for what it does, obviously, you have a regular melee attack. A melee attack gives you a slight lunge. It's nothing significant. Like, you might lunge the equivalent of this distance right here, like up to here. Obviously, if you have a Spartan Charge, you can travel way more distance than this. As you can tell, I went from all the way over there through right here. So that's definitely a longer distance than a melee attack. It's also worth mentioning that it's a lot stronger than a melee attack. Instead of just leaving the opponents with no shields, you leave them absolute, meaning that pretty much any bullet will kill them afterwards, assuming their shields don't regen. It also has massive knockback on it, meaning that it sends enemies flying. If you get hit by Spartan Charge, very often, more often than not, you will not be able to punch your opponent back. And the fact that you can't punch your opponent back definitely gives it an advantage over the regular melee attack. It also rewards people for sprinting preemptively. Normally, you might be tempted to just slide around a corner and start shooting. The Spartan Charge actually rewards you for coming around a corner and you keep sprinting and then hitting someone with a Spartan Charge. Now, as far as the downsides go, obviously while Spartan Charging, you're stuck in this animation. You can tell there's like quite a bit of a delay right here where I can't do anything, almost a whole second, if not more. Okay, I can turn my camera and that's pretty much it. I can't shoot, I can't jump, I literally cannot do anything. I'm just stuck in this animation. And that's a bit of a downside to it. You also can't use your weapons as fast after you Spartan Charge someone. Let's say I Spartan Charge this wall right here. I can shoot for quite a bit, right? Whereas if you just melee someone, you might be able to shoot a little bit faster than if you would just Spartan Charge them. Because you get stuck in this third person animation, then your gun has to ready up. As far as positives goes, it's also worth mentioning that there's a special technique called the Extended Charge, where you can thrust and then Spartan Charge, which gives you this extra distance that's really, really strong. Obviously, that mechanic was not intended by the developers. That's something that people have figured out over time. And it's actually really important to mention because back in the day, when they were considering the mechanics for the game, the abilities, initially Spartan Charge was going to be a button combo involving thrust and then your melee. So in a sense, you would have to burn your thrust. It's not the case currently, so you can actually Spartan Charge and then thrust out of it. So that makes it even better than it was to be, and there's no downsides of burning your thrust, which in my opinion might have been better balanced. That's definitely worth debating. Now, as for my opinions on Spartan Charge. Well, first of all, I'm kind of against the thought process that you should reward people for just sprinting around. It's an FPS, and it's not first-person sprinter, it's first-person shooter. You should be encouraged to shoot your gun and not just run around aimlessly until you find someone. And unfortunately, that happens a lot at low levels. People just run around Spartan Charge, and until they get a Spartan Charge, they will not shoot their gun, pretty much. And usually they just Spartan Charge, pull out their arrow, and boom, just finish the kill. Pretty much like it's COD, because Spartan Charge, these people are so weak. You can kind of finish them off like it's Call of Duty. It looks like your gun is super lethal. Otherwise, it requires a lot of dexterity. You have to aim your gun the whole time. But whereas, if you just Spartan Charge someone, you get some crazy... So you actually get some aim assist on your Spartan Charge. Let me show you guys this clip where... it's just a random clip where I'm Spartan Charging someone. And the Spartan Charge itself magnetizes to the person as if it was a bullet. So obviously, it kind of mitigates the skill aspect to it. You can miss your Spartan Charge by a significant amount and still land it. So I think lower skill players will find themselves really gravitating towards the Spartan Charge, which is a bit of a downside in my opinion. It hurts the shooting skill gap. Like I touched upon earlier, it encourages sprinting around corners aimlessly and just like find someone and you just keep sprinting at them so you can Spartan Charge. So in my opinion, those are two things that kind of definitely hurt the skill gap. And obviously, you want a game that's, you know, skillful to an extent. Obviously, it doesn't have to be just hyper skill, hyper competitive all the time. But it should put some emphasis on shooting your weapons properly and being able to aim them. And I think Spartan Charge chips away at that, most definitely. Like I said earlier, it has some pretty significant knockback on it. And that makes it so sometimes you simply cannot counter Spartan Charge. Your melee will just get sent flying and you will just not be able to lunge back. You will either not be on target in a way that's really unpredictable, or just like sometimes it just simply doesn't lunge back, or people can thrust away and make you miss your melee. It's extremely hard to counter a Spartan Charge against someone who knows what they're doing. And it's especially problematic with how small the radar is in this game. You don't really have a tell. By the time someone's on your radar who Spartan Charge you, you're probably already dead, or you're gonna get hit by it. So in my opinion, Spartan Charge is too unpredictable, too random as well. There aren't a ton of positives to say about Spartan Charge, which kind of pains me to say. I hate that. Well, I don't hate it. I would like for this video to be more constructive and be like, yeah, Spartan Charge has some potential, but it's really in its current state a mechanic that chips away at the skill gap more than not, and was kind of a, in my opinion, a bad addition to this game. I'd like to think that one of the reasons they added Spartan Charge was to actually make it easier for the new players to just run around and actually get kills. Because a lot of people just run around with their ARs out, Spartan Charge, boom, get a kill, Spartan Charge, boom, get a kill. It actually makes it quite easier for people who can't aim that well to get kills. So I guess in a way it makes the game more accessible. And typically really, really good players will not get hit by a noob just running a straight line trying to Spartan Charge him. Although it can very much happen if you get caught off guard, which is frustrating. But I think it was an attempt at making the game more accessible, especially for Call of Duty players who are used to having the weapons that kill really fast. If you Spartan Charge someone, they're pretty much ready to die instantly, so that gives that COD aspect to the game, which in my opinion is a bad thing. I'm definitely not in favor of that. That's not what Halo should be like. Honestly, even if you're pretty bad at the game, pretty bad at aiming, if the matchmaking does its job properly, you should be playing against people who also are not that great at aiming, and all in all, the game should feel pretty balanced. I don't think having a mechanic like that in the game is really the way to go, personally. Now, I do wonder if they had gone with their initial plan of making it a button combo with thrust and then melee. Now, would that be more widely accepted? Would that be a better skill gap? Would that be actually something that people enjoy? Possibly. It would definitely have more of a downside to it. You burn your thrust to have a super lunge with a melee. If you hit it, you can't lunge. You can thrust away like you can currently. So definitely would make it a lot more balanced, had some downsides to it, a skill aspect for a button combo. But in its current state, I think the implementation is unfortunately more than subpar, and I would be very much in favor of this mechanic just simply not coming back for Halo Infinite. I think it was a genuine, honest mistake as far as an implementation in the Halo franchise. And you're welcome to disagree with me. That's the whole point of these conversations, these videos. So in the comments, do let me know what you think. That is my personal, very honest opinion about Spartan Charge, and I try to keep it real. That's really what matters. I want Halo to be as good as it can be, and I don't think that starts with Spartan Charge. Let me know what you think in the comments, and let's have a discussion. But in the meanwhile, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Peace.